rifle jammed on the third round. Everyone heard it. That dull, mechanical click that echoed across the firing range like a death sentence. Instructor Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Hale didn't even flinch. He just stood there, arms crossed, that same cold smirk crawling across his face like he'd been waiting for this moment since dawn. She felt it before she saw it. The weight of 200 eyes burning into her back. The other recruits, the observers, the scoring officers. All of them watching. All of them waiting for her to break. Corporal Emma Reyes kept her breathing steady. She didn't look at Hale, didn't look at the crowd. She kept her eyes on the target downrange, 400 meters out, barely visible through the desert heat shimmer. "Problem, Reyes?" Hale's voice cut through the silence like a blade. She cleared the chamber, inspected the feed mechanism. The extractor claw was bent at an unnatural angle, the bolt carrier scratched and grinding. This wasn't wear and tear. This was sabotage. "No, Gunnery Sergeant." "Then why aren't you shooting?" She could feel him enjoying this. Every second she stood there was another victory for him, another crack in the foundation he wanted to see crumble. This was week 14 of Marine Corps Sniper School at Quantico, the final qualification. Miss this, and she'd be sent back to her unit without the Scout Sniper designation. She'd be the first woman to fail at this stage in 3 years, and Hale would make sure everyone knew why. Emma pulled the bolt back, felt the resistance, the grinding metal. She had 30 seconds left on the clock. 6 targets remained. With a functional rifle, it was routine. With this, 20 seconds, Reyes. She didn't hesitate. She dropped to one knee, flipped the rifle, and began field stripping it with movements so fast her hands blurred. Magazine out, upper receiver separated, bolt carrier group extracted. She found the problem immediately. The extractor spring had been deliberately weakened, and the claw bent inward. 15 seconds. No time to replace it. No time to requisition another weapon. She pulled a hairpin from inside her collar, the one her grandmother had given her before she shipped out to boot camp. Stainless steel, thin but strong. She bent it with her teeth, wedged it against the extractor claw to create tension, then reassembled the bolt carrier group in 4 seconds flat. 10 seconds. The rifle went back together like muscle memory. She shouldered it, found her breathing rhythm, and let her heartbeat slow. The scope picture cleared. Target 1, center mass. She squeezed. Bang. The rifle kicked. The extractor held. Downrange, the silhouette target rocked backward. 7 seconds. Target 2. Adjust for wind. Squeeze. Bang. Target 3. Headshot. Squeeze. Bang. 4 seconds. Target 4. Moving target. Left to right. Lead it. Squeeze. Bang. 2 seconds. Targets 5 and 6 were side by side, overlapping. Impossible shot with the time remaining. Not with a broken rifle. Not with everyone watching. Not with Hale's smirk growing wider because he knew she couldn't make it. Emma stopped breathing. The world narrowed to the scope picture. She saw the gap between the targets, maybe 6 inches of space, a sliver of opportunity. If she threaded the round through that gap at the exact angle, the bullet would fragment on the target frame, and the shrapnel would hit both. "Time!" She fired. The report echoed across the range. For a moment, nothing moved. Then both targets downrange rocked backward simultaneously, peppered with fragment marks. The range went silent. Hale's smirk died. The scoring officer, a Navy SEAL instructor named Lieutenant Commander Hayes, who'd been observing the qualification, walked slowly from the tower toward the firing line. He didn't say anything at first, just picked up Emma's rifle, examined the bolt carrier group, saw the hairpin wedged in the mechanism. Then he looked at Hale. "Gunnery Sergeant, a word. Now." Hale's face went white. Hayes turned to Emma. "Corporal Reyes, you just shot expert marksman with a weapon that should have been deadlined. That last shot..." He paused, shook his head. "I've been instructing sniper craft for 12 years. I've never seen anyone attempt a ricochet fragment shot under pressure." "Who taught you that?" "No one, sir. I figured it out." Hayes studied her for a long moment. Then he did something no one expected. He came to attention and rendered a slow, deliberate salute. "Welcome to the Scout Sniper community, Corporal. You just made history." The story of what happened at the range that day spread through Quantico like wildfire. By evening chow, every Marine on base had heard some version of it. By the next morning, it had reached Camp Lejeune, Camp Pendleton, and 29 Palms. By the end of the week, Emma Reyes was the most talked about Marine in the Corps. But she didn't feel like a hero. She felt tired. Emma sat alone in the barracks that night, cleaning the rifle they'd finally issued her, a proper M40A6, not the sabotaged piece of garbage Hale had handed her. The other scout sniper candidates had graduated alongside her, but none of them knew what to say. Some offered congratulations. Others just stared. A few whispered when they thought she couldn't hear. She got lucky. Hale went easy on her. Probably slept with someone to get here. Emma had heard it all before. She'd heard it at boot camp when she outran the fastest male recruit. She'd heard it at School of Infantry when she scored highest on land navigation. She'd heard it every single day since she'd raised her right hand and sworn an oath to defend the Constitution. Women didn't belong in combat roles, they said. Women couldn't handle the physical demands. Women would distract the men, create drama, weaken unit cohesion. She'd proven them wrong at every turn. And still, they found ways to discredit her. The door to the barracks opened. Emma looked up, expecting another curious onlooker or someone looking to offer fake praise. Instead, she saw Lieutenant Commander Hayes, still in his instructor uniform, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Mind if I sit, Corporal?" She stood immediately. "Sir, you don't have to. I'm sitting." Hayes dropped into the chair across from her and slid 1 coffee cup in her direction. "Drink. You look like hell." Emma took the cup but didn't drink. "Sir, if this is about Gunnery Sergeant Hale. Hale's been relieved of duty. He'll face a formal investigation for equipment tampering and conduct unbecoming. That's not why I'm here." "Then why are you here, sir?" Hayes took a long sip of his coffee, studying her with the same analytical gaze he'd used on the range. "How old are you, Reyes?" 23, sir. You know what I was doing at 23? I was a cocky SEAL Team 3 operator who thought he knew everything. I thought being a good shooter made me a good warrior." He shook his head. "I was wrong. You know what makes a good warrior?" Emma said nothing. "Adaptability, resilience, the ability to perform under conditions that would break most people. You demonstrated all 3 today." "That's not luck, Corporal. That's character. With respect, sir, I just did what I had to do." "Exactly." Hayes leaned forward. "And that's what separates people like you from people like Hale. He thought breaking you would prove his point. Instead, you proved something much more important. That skill and determination matter more than prejudice." Emma felt something tight in her chest loosen slightly. "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me yet." Hayes pulled a folder from inside his jacket and placed it on the table between them. "I'm here to offer you an opportunity. There's a joint task force being assembled. Marine Scout snipers working with SEAL sniper elements on high-value target reconnaissance. It's voluntary, it's dangerous, and it'll be the hardest thing you've ever done." Emma stared at the folder. "Why me?" "Because you're the kind of Marine who fixes a broken rifle with a hairpin and makes an impossible shot with 2 seconds on the clock. Because you don't quit when someone wants you to fail. And because—" Hayes paused, his expression softening. "Because the teams need people who can think under pressure. Gender doesn't matter in a sniper hide. Only competence." Emma opened the folder. Inside were mission profiles, training schedules, and a roster of names. Some of the most elite operators in the U.S. military, and at the bottom, a signature line waiting for her. "You don't have to decide now," Hayes said. "Take the night. Think about it. But Reyes, if you sign that paper, everything changes. The people who doubted you today, they'll keep doubting you. The ones who tried to break you, they'll try harder. This doesn't get easier." Emma looked up from the folder. "Does it get better?" Hayes smiled. "That depends on you." Emma didn't sleep that night. She lay in her rack, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the rifle, the hairpin, the impossible shot. She thought about Hale's face when the targets fell. She thought about the whispers in the chow hall and the doubt in the eyes of the other Marines. But mostly, she thought about her grandmother. Amelia Reyes had been a factory worker during World War II, one of thousands of women who'd built the aircraft and munitions that won the war. She'd worked 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, welding fuselage panels for B-17 bombers. When the men came home, she'd been told her services were no longer needed. She'd gone back to being a housewife, a mother, a grandmother. But she'd never forgotten what it felt like to be useful, to be necessary, to prove that women could do anything men could do, if only someone gave them the chance. Before Emma shipped out to boot camp, her grandmother had pressed that steel hairpin into her palm. "This was your great-grandmother's," Amelia had said. "She wore it when she worked in the textile mills in the 1920s. She gave it to me when I went to work in the factories. Now I'm giving it to you. Not because it's lucky, because it's a reminder. A reminder of what? That women in this family don't break. We adapt. We find a way. And when someone hands us a broken tool, we fix it and finish the job anyway." Emma hadn't understood then. She'd thought it was just sentiment, just an old woman's way of saying goodbye. Now she understood. She sat up, pulled the folder Hayes had given her from under her pillow, and signed her name on the bottom line. 3 weeks later, Emma reported to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado for Joint Task Force integration training. The moment she stepped off the transport bus, she knew this was different. The Marines at Quantico had been skeptical but ultimately accepting once she'd proven herself. The operators at Coronado looked at her like she was a curiosity, something interesting but ultimately irrelevant. The training cadre was mixed: Marine Scout snipers, Navy SEALs, and a few Army Special Forces advisors. They were all men, they were all experienced, and they all had the same question in their eyes when they saw her. What is she doing here? The first day was administrative: briefs on mission profiles, rules of engagement, equipment familiarization. Emma kept her head down, took notes, and didn't speak unless spoken to. She'd learned that lesson the hard way at Quantico. Draw attention and you become a target. But on the second day, everything changed. The training cadre led them to a live-fire shoot house, a modular structure designed to simulate close-quarters combat. It was a test most snipers hated because it took them out of their element. Snipers worked at distance with time to plan, observe, and execute. The shoot house demanded speed, aggression, and split-second decisions. "Pair up," the lead instructor barked. "You'll clear the structure in 2-man teams. Fastest time with 0 civilian casualties wins. Any questions?" No one raised a hand. Emma scanned the group. Most of the operators had already paired off: SEALs with SEALs, Marines with Marines. She was left standing alone until a tall, broad-shouldered SEAL with a thick beard and tired eyes walked over. "You're Reyes, right? The one who made that fragment shot at Quantico?" "Yes." "I'm Chief Petty Officer Tyler Grant, SEAL Team 5. You need a partner?" Emma studied him carefully. His tone wasn't mocking, but it wasn't friendly either. It was evaluative, like he was still deciding whether she was worth his time. "If you're offering." "I am, but I need to know something first." Grant crossed his arms. "Can you keep up?" It wasn't a challenge. It was a genuine question. "Yes," Emma said simply. "Good, then let's go." They entered the shoot house third in the rotation. Emma could hear the gunfire from inside. Controlled pairs, the sharp crack of rifle rounds punching through plywood and ballistic gel. The first team finished in 42 seconds with 1 civilian casualty. The second team finished in 38 seconds, clean run. Grant checked his rifle, a suppressed HK-416, and glanced at Emma. "You take left side, I'll take right. Call your shots, don't hesitate. If you freeze, we both fail." "I won't freeze." "We'll see." The door opened. They moved. Emma had trained in shoot houses before, but this was different. The layout was chaotic. Multiple rooms, narrow hallways, blind corners. Targets popped up randomly, hostile silhouettes mixed with civilians. She moved through the space like water, flowing from one position to the next, her rifle up and scanning. Left room, 2 hostiles, 1 civilian. She fired twice, double tap, center mass, both targets down. Civilian untouched. Hallway. Grant took a target on the right. She cleared the left. Stairwell, hostile at the top. She fired before Grant could react. Target down. Second floor. 3 rooms. She took the first. Grant took the second. They converged on the third together, moving in perfect synchronization, like they'd trained together for years instead of minutes. Final room. 4 targets, 3 hostiles, 1 civilian positioned between them. Impossible shot. No clear angle. If she missed by an inch, the civilian took a round. Emma didn't hesitate. She shifted her stance, angled her rifle downward, and fired low. The round skipped off the concrete floor, angled upward, and struck the hostile target in the pelvis. He went down. She pivoted, fired twice more. The other hostiles dropped. "Time!" the instructor called from outside. 29 seconds. 0 civilian casualties. Grant stared at her as they exited the shoot house. "You just did a skip shot, inside a building, under time pressure." The angle was there. Most people wouldn't have seen it. "I'm not most people." Grant was quiet for a moment. Then he extended his hand. "No, you're not." Emma shook it. For the first time since arriving at Coronado, she felt like she belonged. The weeks that followed were brutal. Emma trained alongside the task force in everything from long-range marksmanship to maritime insertion, helicopter rope suspension, and high-altitude, low-opening parachute jumps. Every day brought new challenges. Every challenge brought new doubts from the men around her, but she kept showing up, kept performing, kept proving that she belonged. Grant became her most consistent training partner. He was tough, demanding, and never gave her any slack. But he also never treated her like she was fragile. If she made a mistake, he corrected her. If she succeeded, he acknowledged it. It was the kind of respect Emma had been searching for since she enlisted. One evening after a particularly grueling training day, Grant found her sitting alone on the beach outside the base, watching the sun set over the Pacific. "You good?" he asked, dropping into the sand beside her. "Just tired." "Yeah, me too." Grant was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why are you doing this?" Emma looked at him. "Doing what?" "This. All of it. The Corps, Scout Sniper School, this task force. You've got nothing to prove, Reyes. You've already made history. You could take a cushy assignment somewhere, coast until your contract's up, and no one would blame you. So why keep pushing?" Emma picked up a handful of sand, let it slip through her fingers. "You ever feel like you're carrying something bigger than yourself?" "Every day. My grandmother worked in a factory during World War II, built bombers. She told me once that the hardest part wasn't the work. It was knowing that when the war ended, everyone would forget what women had contributed, that all the progress would disappear because it was convenient to forget." "That why you joined, to be remembered?" "No." Emma shook her head. "I joined because I wanted to make sure the women who come after me don't have to fight as hard as I did. I want them to walk into a scout sniper course and be judged on their skill, not their gender. I want them to know it's possible." Grant nodded slowly. "That's a heavy weight to carry." "Maybe, but someone has to carry it." They sat in silence for a while, watching the waves roll in. Finally, Grant spoke again. "For what it's worth, Reyes, you're the best shot I've ever trained with. Male or female doesn't matter. You're just the best." Emma felt something warm bloom in her chest. "Thanks, Grant." "Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you're doing. The rest of us are learning from you." 6 months into the task force training, Emma received her first deployment orders. The mission was classified, but the briefing made it clear: high-value target reconnaissance in a hostile environment. Emma and Grant would be paired as a sniper team, providing overwatch and intelligence gathering for a direct action raid conducted by a SEAL platoon. It was everything she'd trained for, everything she'd sacrificed for, and she was terrified. Not of the mission itself. Emma had confidence in her skills, but of what failure would mean. If she made a mistake, if she froze, if she couldn't perform under the pressure of live combat, it wouldn't just end her career. It would confirm every doubt, every whisper, every accusation that women didn't belong in combat roles. The night before they deployed, Grant found her in the armory, triple-checking her equipment. "You're going to wear out that bolt carrier if you keep cleaning it," he said. "Just want to make sure everything's perfect." Reyes. Grant's voice was firm. Look at me. She looked up. You're ready. I know you're carrying a lot of pressure, but you need to let it go. Out there, it's just you, me, and the mission. Nothing else matters. You understand? Emma took a deep breath. I understand. Good. Now get some sleep. We've got a long flight tomorrow. The deployment was to an undisclosed location in the Middle East. Emma couldn't talk about the specifics, operational security, but she could remember the feeling, the helicopter insertion under cover of darkness, the long hike to the hide site through rocky, unforgiving terrain, the hours spent lying motionless in the dirt, watching a compound through her scope while the world moved around her. And then, the moment everything went sideways. The raid was supposed to be clean. Fast insertion, target secured, extract before enemy forces could respond. But intelligence had been wrong. The compound was more heavily guarded than anticipated. The SEAL platoon made entry, but within minutes, they were pinned down by heavy machine gun fire from a position the planners hadn't identified. Emma watched through her scope as rounds tore into the compound walls, as SEALs scrambled for cover, as the mission teetered on the edge of catastrophe. Grant, she said quietly, I've got the gun position, 700 meters, second floor window, northeast corner. Can you make the shot? Yes. Then take it. Emma settled into her breathing, let her heart rate slow, found the rhythm. The machine gunner was partially concealed behind sandbags, only his head and shoulders visible. A difficult shot at 700 meters in low light with wind gusting unpredictably. But Emma had made harder shots. She squeezed the trigger, the rifle kicked. Downrange, the machine gun went silent. Target down, Grant confirmed through his spotter scope. Nice shot. But Emma wasn't done. Two more shooters appeared in adjacent windows, trying to re-establish fire superiority. She worked the bolt, found her aim, fired, worked the bolt again, found the second shooter, fired, both targets down. The SEAL platoon seized the advantage, pushed through the compound, and secured the high-value target. 17 minutes later, they were extracted by helicopter with 0 friendly casualties. Mission success. When they returned to base, the SEAL platoon commander found Emma and Grant at the debriefing. I don't know which one of you made those shots, he said, but you saved lives today. My men are alive because of you. Thank you. Emma nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Later, back in the barracks, Grant sat down across from her with 2 bottles of water. You did good out there, Reyes. We did good. No. Grant shook his head. That was all you. I just called the wind. You made the shots that mattered. Emma took a long drink of water. Feels weird. What does? Being good at this, at killing people. Grant was quiet for a moment. Yeah, it never stops feeling weird. But we're not killers, Reyes. We're protectors. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah. Killers take lives because they want to. We take lives to save lives. That's the difference. Emma wasn't sure she agreed, but she didn't have the energy to argue. She was exhausted, emotionally and physically. All she wanted was to sleep. But before she could, Grant spoke again. You know what the platoon commander told me after the debrief? What? He said you're the best sniper he's ever worked with. Said he'd request you for every mission if he could. Emma looked up, surprised. He said that? Yeah, and he's not the only one. Word's spreading, Reyes. People are noticing. Noticing what? That you're not just good for a woman. You're just good. Period. Emma felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them away. Thanks, Grant. Don't thank me. You earned it. The deployment lasted 4 months. Emma participated in 17 missions, all successful. By the time she returned stateside, her reputation had grown beyond anything she'd imagined. Articles appeared in military publications, interviews requested, photographers wanting to document the first woman to serve in an elite joint task force sniper role. Emma declined them all. She didn't want fame. She didn't want attention. She just wanted to do her job. But the Marine Corps had other plans. 3 weeks after returning from deployment, Emma was summoned to a meeting with a 2-star general at Marine Corps Base Quantico. She had no idea what to expect. When she arrived, She found not just the general, but Lieutenant Commander Hayes, Gunnery Sergeant Hale's replacement, and several other senior officers. "Corporal Reyes," the general said, "have a seat." Emma sat, her heart pounding. "I'll get straight to the point," the general continued. "The Commandant of the Marine Corps has reviewed your service record, your performance at Scout Sniper School, and your deployment with the Joint Task Force. He's decided to award you the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal for your actions during Operation. Well, I can't say the name here, but you know which one." Emma's breath caught. "Sir, You don't have to say anything, Corporal. You've earned this, but that's not the only reason you're here." The general leaned forward. "We want to offer you a position as an instructor at Scout Sniper School. You'd be the first woman to hold that position. Your role would be to train the next generation of Marine snipers and to serve as proof that this career field is open to anyone with the skill and dedication to succeed." Emma's mind reeled. An instructor position at the school where Hale had tried to break her. "Sir, I'm honored, but..." "Before you answer," Hayes interjected, "I want you to understand what this means. You won't just be teaching marksmanship, you'll be changing culture. Every Marine who goes through that course will see you and know that women can excel in combat roles." "That's a powerful message. But it's also a target," Emma said quietly. "There will always be people who think I don't belong, who think I'm there because of politics, not merit." "That's true," the general acknowledged. "But there will also be young women who see you and think, if she can do it, maybe I can too. Isn't that worth the fight?" Emma thought about her grandmother, about the hairpin, about every impossible shot she'd made, and every obstacle she'd overcome. "Yes, sir, it is." "Then do you accept?" Emma stood and came to attention. "Yes, sir, I accept." Emma spent the next 3 years as an instructor at Scout Sniper School. She taught hundreds of Marines, men and women, the skills they needed to survive and succeed in combat. She saw some of them deploy, saw some of them earn their own commendations, saw some of them fail and try again. And slowly, gradually, the culture began to change. The whispers didn't stop entirely. There were still Marines who doubted, still instructors who resisted, still moments when Emma felt like she was fighting an uphill battle. But there were also victories. Like the day a young female Marine named Private First Class Sophia Martinez graduated from Scout Sniper School at the top of her class. She found Emma after the ceremony, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Corporal," she said. "If you hadn't been here, I wouldn't have believed this was possible." Or the day a grizzled old Marine gunnery sergeant approached Emma after a qualification shoot and said, "I didn't think women belonged in the infantry, but I watched you train those Marines today and I was wrong. You've got my respect." Or the day Grant, now a senior chief, called her from somewhere overseas and said, "We've got 3 female snipers on this deployment." 3. 5 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. You did that, Reyes. Those moments made the fight worth it. Emma never forgot the rifle, the broken, sabotaged weapon that Hale had given her that day at the range. It sat in a display case now, in the Scout Sniper School building, with a plaque underneath. Adapted, overcame, made history. Sometimes, late at night when the base was quiet, Emma would stand in front of that case and remember what it felt like to hold that broken rifle, to feel the weight of everyone's expectations, everyone's doubts, everyone's hope that she would fail. And she'd remember the hairpin, the tiny piece of steel that had saved her career. She kept it with her always now, not as a good luck charm, but as a reminder of what her grandmother had said. "Women in this family don't break. We adapt. We find a way." Emma had found a way, and she'd made sure that every woman who came after her knew they could find a way too. 10 years after that day on the range, Emma Reyes stood in the Oval Office, shaking hands with the President of the United States. She was a captain now, decorated and respected, about to receive the Silver Star for actions during a classified operation that had saved American lives. The President smiled at her. "Captain Reyes, I understand you made history with a hairpin and a broken rifle. Is that true?" Emma smiled back. "Yes, Mr. President, that's true. And now you're training the next generation of warriors to do the same. Yes, sir. That's the idea. The president nodded. Keep fighting the good fight, Captain. We need more people like you. As Emma walked out of the Oval Office that day, metal pinned to her chest, she thought about all the women who had come before her. The factory workers, the nurses, the code breakers, the pilots who had fought for the right to serve. And she thought about all the women who would come after her, the ones who would face their own broken rifles, their own Marcus Hales, their own impossible shots. She hoped they'd remember what she'd learned, that when someone hands you a broken tool, you fix it and finish the job anyway. That when someone tells you it's impossible, you find a way to make it possible. And that when the whole world is watching, waiting for you to fail, you take the shot.